Hello, how are you? How you doing? Let's just all take a really deep breath and just let it out. I don't know how your day's been. I don't know how your week's going, but whatever's going on for you right now, I want to just let you know or remind you that you're doing great. I feel like most of us actually just need to hear that right now. You're doing great, my friend. However you are, however you are showing up, however you are handling the circumstance that we're in right now, this crisis time, this uncertainty, this coronavirus. I just want you to know that you're doing the absolute best you can with the resources that you've got. And I don't know if you feel calm in this season. I don't know if you're enjoying it, aspects of it, or if you're feeling completely angry, frustrated. Somewhere in the spectrum of emotions, we all sit. And I don't know about you, but for me, it changes all the time. In a space of days, hours, even sometimes minutes, I can feel incredible and empowered and strong, and I'm going to fight this thing. I'm going to not fight the coronavirus, but I'm going to show up as a leader. I'm going to fight my fears. I'm going to crush it in business. I'm going to help heaps of people. I'm going to show up as a great leader. And then I have days where I just want to pull the blankets over my head and actually not get out of bed and just watch Netflix and eat all day. And I go through this cycle all the time, and I have done over the last few weeks. And what I'm realizing in the last few days is that I've actually been a little bit in denial about how it's been affecting me, and kind of almost not wanting to really feel it, not wanting to acknowledge the gravity of it, and preferring not to look. And actually realizing that we are in a time of loss. Like, we really are grieving. A lot of us have lost so many things and have struggled with so many emotions, because for many of us, we still have incredible lives. We still have access to running water. We still have a roof over our head. We still have friends. We still have technology. We still have so much. And I think sometimes we can almost feel a little bit guilty that we're not suffering in the way that a lot of people are. Or we can feel helpless and powerless because we can't help everyone who's suffering right now. We can feel guilty. We can feel shame. We can feel helpless. We can feel frustrated at ourselves that we're not showing up the way we maybe want to. There's such a plethora of emotions. So I want to know, how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling? I'd love it if you just write it in the comments. I'm going to be super vulnerable in this video, and I would love it if you could be super vulnerable and just let me know how you're feeling, so that I can relate and feel it with you, because we are all in this together. None of us have been through anything like this before. We're all experiencing it in a different way, but we have a collective problem, a collective global problem. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about 5 mindset changes that I've noticed myself go through the whole cycle and background again. And I've kind of been looping around them, and I've noticed this in my clients and in my friends this week as well. Okay, so 5 stages of mindset change. Now, these are different to the five stages of change. You might have seen that model, which is 6 stages that people go through when it comes to change, like pre-contemplation, contemplation, action, etc. That is, if you Google stages of change, there's a lot about that. This is different. This is more about the mindset changes. And these are 5 things that I've realized that I've been doing, and people that in my life have been doing, that I thought might be helpful for you to realize maybe what stage you're in and what insights you can get from that, just reflecting on that. So the first stage is, these are all R, they all start with R, R-E, and you can write them down if you've got a pen and notebook there. The first one is react. So it's kind of like the first thing we do when something happens, we react. And we all are reacting very differently to these circumstances. So the circumstance is neutral until we give it meaning. Like all circumstances in our life, a circumstance cannot make us feel anything. A circumstance only changes when we attach a thought to it. So if you think of the circumstances above everything else, and what sits underneath the circumstances are the things that we can control. There's one thing we can't control, and that's the circumstance. And there are plenty of things we can control, like our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and our results. And this is positive psychology. This is neuroscience. This come from many places in the world of psychology and neuroscience. So this isn't anything new. This is just the way our brain works. And what happens when we realize that our reaction to a circumstance is within our control, we might not control that initial impulse, but we can control the meaning we give the circumstance. We can control our thoughts about it, which then control our feelings about it and our actions, our behaviors. And realizing that there's so much that we can control is very helpful when we feel very out of control, when we feel like there's a lot of uncertainty. So we're all reacting differently. Some people are in different stages. Like if you think about the stages of grief, there's the shock, there's the numbness. I've definitely had some numbness where I've just been like, why can't I think properly? What's wrong with my brain? Foggy brain, forgetting things, kind of feeling a bit lost, a bit thrown, a bit off, not knowing why, but it's all because this is a new thing that we're dealing with, and our brain is trying to make sense of it, make sense of something completely new. Some of us do what I call going to bed. We get stuck in bed, which is B is blame, E is excuses, D is denial. So we might rotate between blaming other people, blaming ourselves for how we feel, blaming ourselves or other people for our own behavior or our own thoughts or feelings or reactions. We can make excuses. We can say, I'm not going to achieve my goals. I'm not going to move forward. I'm not going to do anything until this whole thing's over. We can deny the whole thing. We can pretend it's not happening and just hang out for it to all be over. Or we can decide that we're going to grow from it. We can have that growth mindset where we're going to take what's thrown at us and use it to become stronger, more powerful, more evolved. So the react is the first stage where we maybe complain, we maybe feel in shock, we maybe feel helpless, we maybe go through all of these different feelings, and some of us take weeks to kind of go through all these different reactions before we go to the next stage, which is reflect. And in the reflect stage, some people never get here, but in the reflect stage, we start to feel the effects of our reactions. Most people will start to feel the effects of how they've chosen to react. So whether they've chosen to retreat or advance, whether they've chosen to become stronger and grow through this, or to actually become down about it and not allow themselves to kind of face it. So we start to feel the effects of our reactions, and that's that reflection stage. We start to reflect on how we're handling it, how we're doing, how we're feeling, and what we maybe want to change. So we start to reflect. We start to maybe go for walks and think about how we are being, who we're showing up as in this time. The next stage that a lot of people move to is what I call recover. And in the recover stage, we've reacted, we've reflected on how we've reacted, and then we start to recover. We start to become more self-aware and self-accepting and accepting of the situation and saying, okay, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do? I don't want to just stay angry, frustrated, irritated. Like, I've felt so incredibly irritated that I can't go to the gym, and it's just annoyed me, and I've been dwelling on it too much. Because I've been to the gym for 25 years. I haven't stopped since I was 16. I've had a gym membership, and to have that taken away from me is really frustrating. And then I add this feeling of guilt to that where, it's just the gym, don't be so silly. And then I beat myself up, and then it's just this horrible feeling. So I've realized that, I've had to grieve that loss because it's part of my identity, and you've lost things that are maybe part of your identity, part of your coping mechanism. They've been ripped out from under you, and there is a sense of loss and grieving. We can't deny that, the fact that we are going to feel this emptiness because all these things that have made us feel better. The gym makes me feel better, movies make me feel better, going to cafes with friends makes me feel better, traveling makes me feel better. All of the things that we've got incredibly positive emotions from, so many of them are gone. We're having to rebuild our lives without them for a season. So when you recover, you start to go, okay, let's start to look at it. Let's start to look at how I do want to show up, how I do want to be in this season. And instead of being stuck in blame and anger and all of that, what can I do differently? How can I still do weights in the park and still do cardio and still connect with friends and meet all those needs and be very kind to yourself? So the next stage is resetting. It's called reset. And this is having empathy for yourself, having empathy for others, showing yourself kindness and grace and compassion for what you're going through. Even if you feel like being in isolation, you're enjoying it. You're enjoying maybe creating new things. Maybe your creativity's turned on. I know mine started to turn on recently as I've gone through the different stages. Now I want to plant some things on my balcony, and I want to do some painting, and I want to write some songs and some poetry, and I want to sort out my online systems, and I feel more motivated to make changes. The last few weeks I wasn't. I was very numb, very confused, feeling very lost, feeling all over the place. So is anyone else feeling like that? I would love to know that I'm not alone. Hey Rose, good to see you on here. Keeping a positive mind, trusting that life will go back to normality. Isn't trust such a big part of it? Trust. Oh, if we could only just surrender to trusting that everything's going to be okay. And even if it doesn't go back quite the way it was, that we're going to be okay, however life looks on the other side of this. John, hello, Big John. How are ya? Good to see you. Hi, Trish. Oh, Amy, FaceTime workouts. I'd love to. Amazing. Yeah, count me in. I love seeing your online workouts on Facebook. So good. Okay, so we're at the reset stage. This is where we make empowering changes. So for me personally, I've committed to a friend to meet in the park, motivate each other, go for bike rides, take the weights out. I've committed to non-negotiables of daily sunshine, daily fresh air, daily movement in nature. I've committed to showing up regardless of how I feel, committing to being productive and showing up each day, even though it might not be at the highest level. Like it might not be, you can't expect yourself to be exactly the same as you were a month ago. Like it's okay to say, okay, I'm not going to necessarily feel inspired to do all the things that you did before, and that's okay. Like wherever you are is perfect. Whatever stage you're at is okay, and it's just about bringing awareness to it and saying, how do I want to be? So in that reset stage, you're starting to put things in place, maybe going back to some routines, maybe looking at your daily plan, making sure that you have a schedule, keeping some sense of, like Rose says, normality, and giving your brain some certainty. Your brain is freaking out right now because there's so many unanswered questions. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know really what we're going to be like through all of this and the changes and all of those uncertain things. We need to give our brain certainty. So how can you give your brain certainty? It's a great question to ask yourself. We're all different. For me, I need a sense of routine every day. I need to stop staying up so late and go to bed earlier and get up and go through a plan, create a plan every day and stick to a daily and a weekly plan. I need to stick to my goals, even though I'm tempted to kind of pause them or shift them. I can still set business goals. We can all shift our goals and change them, reset them, But we should not just press pause and not have any goals at the moment. Goals give our life meaning and something to aim for, and we might need to focus on how we can support ourselves as a goal, and how we can keep our income up, how we can make sure that our business is going to survive this. This is not the time to be stuck in defeat and overwhelm. Maybe it's about giving yourself some time to refresh, to reset, to step back and look at your life. Remember that comforting yourself is different to caring for yourself. So comforting yourself feels good in the moment. Maybe it's curling up and watching Netflix all day, maybe binging out on a series, and maybe you've done that and that's okay. But realizing that just having pleasure is not going to make you fulfilled. In fact, it's probably going to make you feel worse in the long term. So overconsumption of food, alcohol, media, social media, news feeds, the news, all of that overconsumption makes us feel obese. Even if it's an internal obese feeling where we're just over consuming, it's very unsatisfying. We're not designed to just consume, we're designed to create. And so thinking in that reset stage, what can you create in this time? We are creators by nature. And so that reset time is where we go, okay, I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to show up. I'm going to make some changes. And then the final stage, number 5, is resilience. Resilience is your ability to bounce back from stress. And so this is where we shift from the stress response to being strong, and we can get to that point, we can feel and stay resilient, and then we might go back to reaction. Something might happen where we cycle around, right? So if you think of it in a cycle, 1, react, 2, reflect, 3, recover, 4, reset, 5, resilience. We feel strong, we feel empowered, we feel resourceful and creative, and then something can happen and it can hit us again, and we can react again, and then we need to kind of process that again, and we might go back around in that cycle. So I'd love to know, where are you in these stages? If you are in any of these stages, or do you feel like you're in a completely different one? I know that there's many stages that we can be in. I've just picked 5. Have you experienced any of these stages? I'd love to know. I'd love it if you could share it in the chat box. Have you experienced any of these stages? Going through reaction, just reacting to what's happened, reflecting, feeling the effects of your reactions, recovering from that, and moving into that self-acceptance and self-awareness, resetting, making empowering changes, and then resilience, bouncing back. Please let me know. I would love to hear from you. I'll reply to every single comment personally. Also, I just wanted to share that at this time where you're probably feeling some level of stress, it's important to acknowledge that it's stress and that your body, part of your brain, doesn't feel safe. Part of your brain is freaking out right now, and to actually treat it like you would if you were under stress. So there's physical, mental, emotional, behavioral stress, and these are some of the red flags that we see where we physically feel stress. We might feel our heart racing, a bit of anxiety, panic. We might feel a heavy chest. We might get headaches. We might feel irritable, moody, unmotivated. We might find ourselves over-consuming, bad habits, messy environment, procrastination, all of these things that can show up. A lot of times they are symptoms of stress. So acknowledging nothing's wrong with you, you are experiencing some stress, especially if you're not normally like that. Like, I've found that I'm very forgetful at the moment. And one of my clients actually messaged me and said, make sure you're getting lots of healthy fats in, because that brain fog, it's normal when you're in that fight or flight stress response. Remember, fight or flight, if you think about it, our body is designed to fight danger or to flight or to freeze, right? Most of us are just frozen. So we're in that numb, frozen state because we can't fight corona. We can't beat it up. And we can't flight from corona. We can't jump on a plane and escape it. We can't jump in our car and drive off on holiday. We can't fight or flight at the moment. So we're left with the feelings. We have to actually feel them. And that is pretty hard without numbing. So I want to encourage you not to be tempted to numb that. Remember, emotions, they're vibrations in our body. They're like a wave. They come and then they go. They're not permanent. They're actually quite harmless if you don't resist them. They're only harmful if you feel them chronically, on a long-term basis. But if you feel it, go acknowledge it. I'm feeling stressed right now. I'm gonna take the time out to do all the things that I would normally do in a stress response. Deep breathing, meditation, movement, healthy food, soul time, soul care, journaling, processing with a friend, processing with a coach, externalizing your thoughts. All of those things, you need to really step up your self-care at the moment. If you need to sleep more, sleep more. If you need to do easier activities, do that. If you've got nervous energy and you find yourself scrolling, go and use your nervous energy to maybe create something, do something with your hands. Find ways to handle the stress response with kindness and grace and compassion for yourself. You're doing great, my friend. You're doing great, even if you think you aren't. So John says all 5 on a daily basis. Nice. John's doing the whole cycle round fast. So good. Thank you for showing up here. I'd love to hear how you're doing. Please check in and let me know. Don't suffer alone. I know we all try to be strong and independent and, you know, powerful leaders, but we're all going through this together, and we can all help each other by being honest, by being real, by being raw, and being vulnerable and feeling all the things, allowing them. Don't push them down. Don't suppress them. Allow them to come up in healthy ways and empowering ways so you can move on and move into that resilient stage. You don't need to rush to resilience. If you're feeling in that reaction stage where you're feeling, you know, those symptoms of stress, take some time to reflect, allow yourself to recover, and then reset. And the byproduct of that will be resilience. Love to hear from you. How did you find it? What was your, you know, any of your favorite things that I said, anything that stood out? Love to hear. Also, I've got a weekend online marketing funnel weekend coming up this weekend. If you want some help with your online business, if you want my help setting up an online funnel so you can attract clients and sort out your systems, because that's something that will really help you overcome the stress, then I'll post the link so you can check it out. It's happening on Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. It's called Funnel Creation Fast Track. Online event this weekend, obviously online. Check it out. If you've got any questions, let me know. And in the meantime, be safe, take care, be strong, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, friends.